Dear followers, you've definitely made the right choice by clicking on this video today. Why? Because I'm going to teach you an incredible strategic attack that will help you consistently win tons and tons of games. Believe me, it's a total game changer. It's called the Kelson attack. And with a name like that, all you can think of is a lightning fast attack. Why is it called the Carlson attack? Well, that's easy because I named it myself. It's that simple. Nah, actually, it's because I first saw Magnus Carlson play it and I thought it was spectacular. Look, why is this gambit so good, Chestershire? Is this for real? No, seriously. It's a great attack because it's played with the black pieces, and there are fewer of those. Best of all, when you see it, it'll blow your mind. You're gonna say, I have no idea what's happening on the board, right? And that's exactly what your opponent will think when you play it. But you'll already have it under control. Let's get to it because I've been talking a lot and I still haven't shown you how to play the Carlson Gambit or the Carlson attack. You're going to be amazed, just like I was. I'm telling you the truth. Knight to f3. Take a look. Knight to c6. We're playing a totally normal game. This is the most common move in chess. And we keep going. Bishop to c4. By far the most popular opening in chess. The Italian openings. Here we have two possible responses. Simple ones, which are bishop to c5 and knight to f6. Which one do we use for the fried liver attack? Knight to f6. But a lot of you are afraid of knight to f6 because of the dreaded fried liver attack, this attack right here. Well, the fried liver attack happens when someone tries to play the fried liver, the Fegatello attack, okay? It's an attack that, especially if you have less than 2000 elo, you'll see very often. You don't see it much at the top level because they know how to punish it. However, that's only at the elite level, okay? And check out the attack that Carlson came up with. First, d5, the mandatory move. Whether you want to play the gambit or not, why? Because you have to stop this attack from the bishop and the knight, right? Right now, they're threatening to come in here and win the queen or the rook, right? That's why d5 is mandatory, whether you want to play this attack or not. But now, when they capture, watch out, rookie mistake to take this pawn with the knight. Then you really would be losing, because they'd hit you with the fried liver attack. I'm showing you this so you don't fall for it. They simply capture this pawn, attacking both the queen and the rook at the same time. So no matter what, we have to capture this knight if we don't want to lose material. And now they give us this check with the queen, and as soon as we move the king, they'll take this knight. Notice it's a double attack on the king, and on the knight, we're not gonna fall for the fried liver attack. Please, chess teacher. I've played d5, but when they capture, I'm not gonna take here. Instead, I'm gonna use the Carlson attack. Pay attention, okay? I'll show you with this move. Here it is, b5. Right now, you're probably thinking, aren't you? I have no idea what's happening on the board. There are so many attacks going on here and there right now that I don't know what's happening. You attack me, I attack you, and there are even more attacks. Well, that's exactly what your opponent will be thinking when you play this. Especially in fast games, they'll either run out of time or make a bad move. All right, now pay attention to this. There's only one good move here, and I'm telling you, it's impossible. I'll say it again, impossible for you to know it. You'll only get it right if you already know it. That's the only way to find the right move if you already know it. Pay attention, okay? All right, I'm gonna do a challenge. I'm gonna think of the move and now I'll make it. Let's see if anyone got it right. If anyone gets it right, please let me know in the comments because you're a real genius, all right? The correct move for white and the only one that saves the game is bishop to f1. No one, I'm sure no one got it right. Hukash got it right against Magnus Carlsen. I'll show you in a bit. But first, let's see what happens if they don't play bishop to f1, which is the most common thing, not to play it. What's the most normal move here? Sorry, this knight is here, okay? I'm starting to go a little crazy. They're hitting us with the fried liver attack. I'm sure more than one of you noticed and was getting nervous. Don't worry, I noticed. Live mistakes. It can happen. They're attacking us here. All right, we play b5. The most normal thing is for them to capture this pawn. All right? Look, now they're pitting this knight, which is being attacked by this pawn. We have to capture this pawn, and we have two options, with the knight or with the queen. Notice one thing, capturing with the knight would be a huge mistake. Why? Because after capturing with the knight, bishop takes knight, check, and they take our rook. So we're forced to capture this pawn with the queen. And now, notice something. This bishop is under attack and has already lost two moves, 1 and 2. That's why the most common and best move for white, if they don't want to waste more time, is to take this knight. Also, the other possible move, if not taking the knight, would be to go back here, because we're also targeting this square with the queen. You see that, right? So we're putting on pressure from the very beginning. Let's look at two good, unique moves. This one would be way too passive because he'd be wasting a lot of time, and the most logical move is to capture this knight. So here we have no choice but to take here. The game can continue however you want, castling for example, and now we're going to take advantage of the open lines and gaps we've created to attack with a lot of force. Notice one thing, our queen and bishop are perfectly lined up now to deliver a checkmate on this square right here by the king. And now the king is in a really, really bad spot. This knight never wants to go back here because it's very easy to chase away. And then it would be in a pretty tough spot. Notice that if it comes over here, we'd be attacking it again, so it would have to come here. That's why here, the most common move to stop this attack is f3. However, it's still a terrible move that already seems a bit suspicious, right? Because it leaves some really important gaps right here. However, what we're going to do first here is take advantage. This knight can't go back here or here, because after the exchanges, we'd simply be winning a pawn, and we'd be threatening an almost unstoppable checkmate again, right? So the only move when we play this h6 is to move the knight to h3, right? And now, how do we continue? Do we give this check? Well, no, giving this check isn't the best option, okay? But the best option is to attack with the pawns. We have a devastating attack along the diagonal toward the king. We're going to open up lines to bring the rook in as well. Take a look at this. What do we want to do on the next move? Open this up here so we can deliver this checkmate. And even if they move the knight, they won't be able to stop it because we can just keep putting on the pressure in so many ways. For example, we can just push the pawn right away. After the exchanges, we can bring in the rook. Let's suppose, for example, that the opponent plays d3, which is a totally normal move. Well, here we would simply capture this pawn and we'd be winning. So here they have to address the threat. If they take here, we deliver checkmate, right? So they can't take with the pawn. If they capture with the knight, they'd lose the knight because we'd take with our knight and they couldn't recapture since it would be checkmate. As you can see, the attack is just too overwhelming. If they somehow manage to defend it, that's fine. We bring in the rook and add another rook to the attack. They're probably going to have to give up material, and if you're worried about your king being in the center, you can always castle queenside, and it'll be a pretty easy position to play. I'm telling you, your king will be very safe castling long. Still, I doubt anyone will be able to hold out long enough for you to have to castle. You'll probably end up checkmating, thanks to the pressure from the file and the diagonal. Alright, and if they let us, for example, take a look. If there's a queen exchange, like I mentioned, we play here, and they play something odd like d3, and we capture. If they want to trade queens, we can do it without any problem, because our attack is still going to be super strong. We trade queens, no problem, wide. Because now, look at the incredibly powerful diagonal of the bishop and the super strong file of the rook. Check with the rook, they have to move. They can't come this way because we would just pin them and this knight would be lost, so they have to go here. And simply, with the bishop, we deliver this tremendous and juicy checkmate, since the king can't escape thanks to our rook. So let's review this lightning fast attack. Knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to c4, you know, the most popular chess moves, the Italian opening. We play knight to f6 without being afraid of them playing the fried liver attack, the fried liver attack. We play d5, and when they capture, that's when we launch the Carlson attack. With this move, so powerful right here. We attack the bishop, they attack our knight, and what did we just see? Well, first, I explained to you that the best move was bishop to f1. Very, very hard to spot. But don't worry, I'm going to show you how to play if they go bishop to f1, which maybe happens 1 out of every 100 games, okay? We just saw what happens if they capture this pawn here. We simply recapture with the queen and set up the attack over here. Remember, if you don't get it, you can watch the video as many times as you need. It's totally free. That's why I'm sharing it with you. Let's see what happens if they play a very popular move as well, which is, well, you attack my bishop and I attack your knight. I take your knight and you take my bishop. What should I do, your Chastature? Should I take that bishop? Of course, without a doubt. If we don't take that bishop, we'd end up down a piece. However, has our attack ended, Chastature? No, the attack is still on. For example, let's continue with any move from our opponent. What matters to us is what we're going to do. First, we want to drive out this knight from our opponent. If this knight leaves before we force it out, even better, but if not, we'll kick it out ourselves. Now, if it comes here, just look at how bad this move is. We could directly open up the castling by making this exchange here. We trade a bishop for a knight, and let me tell you, this king won't last long on this open diagonal, on this open file. So this knight has to come over here. It doesn't have any other square. And I'm sure all of you are already seeing this move right here. We push the pawn forward to put a ton of pressure. This knight doesn't want to go backward or over here. Here it would get lost, and going back is just too sad. So they try to come to e5 while threatening this pawn. All right, up to this point, everything's pretty normal. Notice that this might look really complicated, but it's actually pretty standard, right? We simply attacked the knight, it had to move, we looked at the other options, but we concluded that this was the best one, and then after advancing, we saw again that the best move was to come forward here while attacking this pawn. Are we going to defend it? No. All right? We're not going to defend that pawn. Instead, we're going to gain the initiative. What's the move to gain the initiative in this position? Well, the move is bishop to d6, an extremely good move. First, it attacks this knight, and second, it puts pressure on the opponent's castling with an x-ray attack. Pay attention, here, the best move, or really the only move that seems to save them, is to capture this pawn here. They win another pawn, 2 pawns up, they attack the bishop, but here we're already winning. With an extremely good move that I'm sure all of you have already thought of, which is bishop takes h2, check. We sacrifice the bishop, the Greek sacrifice, and here, notice that we're already winning. They have to capture this bishop because if they don't, the consequences are exactly the same or even worse, and then we jump in with the knight to give check. Notice something. This knight can't be captured by the queen because we have this bishop, which hasn't moved yet but is doing a great job and an exceptional task defending the knight from its starting position. So check to the king. He only has 4 options, okay? And we're going to look at all of them. If he comes over here, we simply checkmate in 2. Check and then checkmate, all right? One is already done. That's checkmate. Let's look at this one. We just do the same thing. Bring the queen over and checkmate is inevitable because no matter how much they try to escape this way, it's still mate since the knight is covering this square here. So whether they come here or here, it's checkmate in 2 moves. Now, if they move forward, that would be a huge blunder. Why? Because it puts itself on the same diagonal as the bishop. Look, and what happens if it ends up on the same diagonal as the bishop? There are simply discovered attacks. If we move this knight out of the way, we'll give a check with the bishop. So we give this double check with the knight and the bishop, and we also attack the queen. When the king moves, we can capture the queen. And we'd have an extra queen, totally free. We'd win the game very easily. So we've seen checkmate here, and we win the queen here. What happens if they come here? What seems like the most critical option? Well, this is the one you need to remember how to play. It's very simple, but you just have to remember the move h5. It's a tremendous move. A lot of you might think it's to defend this knight, but it's not. This knight's already defended by the bishop. No matter how much it's attacked by 2 pieces, the queen and the king, a bishop is enough to defend it because if they capture it with the queen, they'd be losing too much value, right? Bishop takes queen, they'd win 2 pieces and we'd get a queen, which is much better for us. So h5 isn't to defend the knight, it's to keep attacking. For example, no matter what they do, right? Whatever they do, if they play, for example, f3, threatening our knight, we just go with h5, give this check, the king has to move, he can't capture here because of the bishop, or here because of the rook, and he can't go here or here because of the knight. The only move is to come here, unless he wants to get into trouble here, which would probably end in a pretty quick checkmate with the queen. So when he comes here, it's as simple as, since we already know what to do when the king is in this spot, we just jump with the knight, double check, and when he moves, we simply capture the queen and end up with a queen advantage. So chess teacher, what should we do? If, when they launch this attack against us, we play Carlson's attack, which is b5, and they respond with the correct move, bishop to f1? Well, that's a great question, and it's good that you ask, because there's always some smart aleck who studied this line and plays bishop to f1. All right, what you need to do is capture this pawn with the knight. And here, you should know that the correct move is to move this bishop again to capture this pawn. Why? Why this silly move of going back and then forward again? Let me explain it to you in a very simple way. Do you remember why we didn't want to capture here? Or did I already explain why it was bad to capture here? It's very simple, because the queen would come in, attack here, and attack here. This was very dangerous. However, what happens if we first come here and capture with the pawn? Well, now, by capturing this one here, we're in the same position, but the queen can no longer come here. However, they've lost a lot of moves, and now, notice something. We're launching a pretty strong attack, even if it doesn't look like it. First, we're attacking this knight, which we shouldn't capture. Capturing this knight would be a huge blunder. If we capture here, they capture us, and we're even in material, okay? But then they check us and take a rook. So yes, it's true. There's a loose knight here that we could capture, but first we need to make an in-between move. Sorry, that always happens to me. An in-between move, and I didn't do it to be funny, I promise. This always happens to me. We have to make an in-between move so we don't lose this rook. So what's the move? This one or this one? Well, the right one is this one. See how if you apply opening principles and don't just rely on memorizing lines, you remember them better? If you think about how we wanted to attack along this line, it makes much more sense to defend over here. This one is much more passive, okay? This bishop doesn't work as well as it does over here. So normally you move it over there, and now they can keep attacking us. That's true. Check out what an interesting move this is. They're trying to checkmate us over here. They're trying to capture this knight. Notice that if we come over here, they capture us here and put a ton of pressure on this knight. And they also put pressure here. So what happens then? Let's set it up right. This goes here, this goes here. What's going on? The attack from the white pieces is just too strong right now, isn't it? What do we need to do in this position? We have a few ideas. The main one I recommend is to defend with queen to d7. That's the main idea, okay? You need to remember, don't take this knight, all right? It's just a recommendation. Don't take this knight, because if they've played all the way here with bishop to f1 and all that, they really know the line. Don't take that knight because you'll probably end up in their territory. We play queen to d7, we defend this knight, we defend against mate, and we're not down any material, all right? Look, well, we're actually down a pawn, sure, but it gives us this awesome attack with the bishop and more development, okay? It's just a gambit, a pawn for much more initiative, all right? So just play like this. Stay calm, that's what you should do, okay? Don't play into their game, that's my advice, all right? For example, let's keep looking at this game. They play knight to c3, they're attacking us here with a lot of pieces, but notice that our pieces are so well placed that we can attack really easily. In this case, check this out. We bring the knight here to deliver this spectacular double attack. We hit both the king and the rook with the fork. And not only that, watch out, because in the future, once this bishop is gone, we can move this knight and launch a discovered attack on the queen. Our pieces are really well placed. How do they defend against this double attack? Well, notice that in this game, they do it with the bishop. It makes a lot of sense. They keep this bishop on the same diagonal as the queen and king, and come to defend this square that was being forked by the knight to the king and rook. It's important, this knight is bothering us here, right? Let's drive it out. Where can it go? Well, the most logical move is for it to come here. It could come here, but that would be way too passive, right? So this e4 square looks way more tempting. What did I tell you? Where are we going to castle? Short of Wang. Normally we'll castle Wang. Why? We put this rook on a file where it can put pressure with the queen, and we have a clear path to attack on this flank with the rook. All right? White does the same thing we did, attacking this knight and going after ours, since it's really annoying. You just move it back here, it's on a good square, and nothing happens. If they capture this knight, we recapture with the queen. Absolutely nothing happens. Actually, they've helped us out a bit here, because now we're no longer pinned by the bishop. It's true that in this game, very cleverly, the white pieces place their bishop attacking the queen again. The queen has to move to a square where she also protects this pawn, even though it's attacked by two pieces, and they won't be able to defend it very strongly. But that's okay, because we're not too worried about them taking this pawn. Plus, they'd be opening up lines for us to attack the king with our rooks. Sometimes it's actually better not to take a pawn, because we know that taking it would make things even worse for us, right? So the white pieces once again place the bishop here to attack the queen. See? What did I tell you? We've castled long, so we can attack on the king side. Look at what a beautiful attack this is, huh? If you're enjoying this, peace. Now you're gonna see how it ends because we're just about to finish. I hope you're liking it, okay? Give me a big like. We get to this knight here. It has to move back, so it retreats over here to protect its king when it castles. We come here with the pawn. Look at our position. It's just perfect. Even though we're down a pawn, they try to open up the bishop, but it doesn't have much of a future. You see, it can't go anywhere. We bring the queen here, placing it on the same diagonal as the king. They block with the knight before it's too late, but notice how well coordinated our pieces are. We jump with the knight to d4, to d4, and now this knight is exerting tremendous pressure. It attacks the queen and also the knight that was defending the pawn on the king. Well, they have to capture here before it's too late, but now we bring in the rook, and the attack is just too strong. They attack our queen again. Well, they can be as annoying as they want because check out this move right here. You're going to be amazed, and that's why I chose this game. The move black played here was queen takes bishop, giving away the queen. Spectacular, right? Why? Because look, now we can capture theirs, right? After the capture, we can take theirs with the bishop, and we're in such a good position. They have two doubled pawns here, two doubled pawns there, and an isolated pawn that's being attacked by the rook. So we're in an incredibly strong position. We get back the pawn we were down and set up a double attack. This game is already going black's way. They defend against one pawn, but they can't protect themselves from the other. That's why black starts to gain too much initiative. White doesn't know what to do anymore, so they castle long to protect this pawn. Black pushes their pawn forward to protect the rook. When the king attacks it, they defend it with the pawn. Look at what a beautiful battle this is. We bring a rook over here to try to make these exchanges, which work out well for black. Absolutely nothing happens. I'm going to win this endgame. Absolutely nothing happens. And now I bring my king in too. They come in with the rook. They develop the bishop that they still hadn't developed. They bring the rook over here to attack this pawn. I simply defend it. No, I attack a more important one. This one down here, they have to defend it. Now we defend before they capture this pawn here. They bring the bishop over here, taking advantage of the fact that they haven't taken here, to come in with the pawn. They try to attack a lot, but absolutely nothing happens. They bring in the king, capture here. It looks like we're losing a pawn, but we're not worried. We're not worried about losing this pawn, because if they come over here, we could trap the bishop, and this bishop would be almost out of play. It's much better over here. So black isn't worried, and brings the king in. You already know how important the king is in endgames. Sorry, white moves first, then black. And now, yes, this bishop tries to go on the attack. They simply try to win that 3 versus 2, which would really be a 3 versus 1.5 because black's pieces are doubled up. After the capture, there's an in-between move. Now I said it right. E4 check. The king has to move, and look at how good this position is for black. After this move and this one here, white resigned because black would simply capture en passant, and this pawn would be way too close to queening. Or they could even capture this one first and be way too close to winning. Check out this game where white played the right move, but even so, why am I showing it? Because it's not hard to put pressure on with black and make the right move. A Carlson attack that really fascinated me. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. I really appreciate it so much. Honestly, you have no idea how much it means to me if you leave a like, a comment, or subscribe to the channel. Really, you have no idea how much you help me. If you do, I'll be grateful forever. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and I'll see you in the next one, friends. Goodbye.